We're seeing more and more step-through bikes these days. Makes sense to me. They're easier to get on and off. But what I really like about this bike as well as being a step-through is that it has a nice mid-drive motor. This is a 500 watt motor. They claim has over 800 watts of peak power. It's on the Dyno, so we're gonna find that out before I go ride it. I think this could be an awesome bike for the price. They're selling these for around $2,000. It says the retail's $24.99, but lately I've seen them on sale anywhere from $19.99 to just over that at $2,049, $50 more. And that is a great price for a mid-drive powered bike, because normally similar specs at that price would have a hub motor. So if this performs well, this could be really nice. Of course, this is a torque sensing mid-drive motor. They have two different versions, an 8-speed and a 10-speed. Either one, honestly, would be fine. Which one did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got the 8-speed, just to be clear. Inside the down tube here, we've got what they call is a long-range battery, although it says it's a 48-volt, 15 amp hour. I'd say that's pretty standard. Although with these nice low rolling resistance tires, you should get really good range out of something like this. Normally, I would conservatively say 30, 40 miles on a bike with a battery that size with hills that we have around Grass Valley. Pedal assist 5. Okay, we are in first gear. Let's try that first. I'm gonna shift up to third, see if that gives us a little more power. Felt pretty good. And up to fifth. I was struggling a little more. I think we maxed it out on one of those. Those look pretty good for a 500 watt motor, 715 watts and 25.5 pound-feet of torque. I just want to look at the chart since I did a bunch of runs up and down. So I got the most torque in that first gear pole, which makes sense, but really close to it in third gear still. And then just 23.7 pound-feet in fifth gear, so it started to drop down a little. And then wattage-wise, yeah, over 700. I don't know why I didn't pick up this peak wattage right here, but we were actually peaking out at about 850 watts. CMB Pro, we got 25.5 pound-feet of torque and a peak of 850 watts. Now, if I remember correctly, I think their website said peak power of 820, so we're right on with these numbers. That looks really good, actually. I think that's going to put it pretty close to, actually it's going to be maybe even a little better, surprisingly. So yeah, this is the best comparison that we have. So our Area 13 Falcon, we also advertise as a 500 watt. Now this is using the Bafang M600 motor. This is a different brand of motor. One thing that's a little different between these two, the Falcon is using a 29-inch wheel. The CMB Pro is using a 26-inch. So we're probably putting the power down a little bit easier, spinning a smaller wheel. So I would say yes, to the ground. Surprisingly, the Vituvia has more power than the stock Falcon, but if we're just looking at motor perspective, it looks like with this motor, it is a very good comparable, almost exact match for the Bafang M600. It's about the same size, it sounds the same, and from riding, should feel basically the same. So if they can make a motor with that kind of power at a lower price point, I'm all for it. All right, so what I'm gonna do is basically a little bit of a sunset ride before the sun goes down on this bike. There are a few paved trails that are nice. We'll go see how this bike performs on those. It's
It's funny how much it sounds just like the Bafang M600 motors. They have this distinctive little whine, and personally I don't mind that little whine. Kind of is like hearing your engine RPM in a way. As I expected, it coasts down the hills really nice. I noticed the speedometer has a little quirk to it when you go too fast. Sometimes it doesn't read quite right, because it said I was going 38 for a minute back there, and there's no way I was going that fast. I think it was picking up the speed sensor a little funny. But we're cruising along right now at like 20, 21. Oh, see, now it did it again. It jumped. It basically doubled our speed to something that was unrealistic. Minor details. I know how fast I'm actually going. I don't know why it's doing that. And I just forgot to shift down. Let's see how it does taking off from a stop. Not bad. I was only in pedal assist 4 too. I could have given it a little more power. With mid drives, you really need to just remember to shift down into a lower gear before you get started again. What's nice though, of course, is with the torque sensor, you can just pedal lightly, just give it a little bit of power, and then kind of start pedaling harder, give it a little more, and then that'll protect your drive line, drive train, whatever you want to call it. Now we do have a suspension fork on the front of this very laid-back commuter style bike. It has a lockout switch, so I have that open. Like I said, it is hydraulic brakes. They're running the Logan brand, which are not the best, but they're hydraulic brakes. So if there's some little compromises they made on this bike to keep the price low while having a nice, powerful mid-drive, I would say I would have liked to have seen a better brand of hydraulic brakes. These ones are not bad when they're working. Like, I'll do a quick stop here. Like, I could have just broke both tires loose if I squeezed a little harder. Like, they stop really nice, but sometimes they cause us problems in the shop when we're trying to bleed them on people's bikes that have been out for a while. That's the only reason I have a opinion on these brakes one way or the other. But when they work just fine. All right, a little more power. Excuse me. Thank you. This bike, unfortunately, didn't come with a bell. I like to use the shifting, do like kind of a hard shift if I'm sneaking up behind somebody and they didn't hear me. Obviously, I was talking about the noise, the whine the motor makes, but you can see I just crept up right behind somebody and they didn't see me until I was like right on them, or they didn't hear me, I should say. So don't mistake my comments about the motor having a little whine don't mistake that comment with noise or noisy motor. It's really not noisy at all. It's very quiet, actually. There's somebody cruising around on an e-bike coming down the hill. Woo! And now these are where I really do like these commuter style bikes with the low rolling resistance tires. You can just get right up to speed and just zip right along. Feels like effortless. It's a great way to get around town. The display that's on this bike is in color, but it's like a LCD liquid crystal type display. So it's kind of an interesting choice that it's not like a full color TFT style, but it's really nice to read. I mean, we're kind of in the shade, the sun's going down, so it looks really vibrant right now. But I think this is one that you could see even in direct sunlight nicely. And it gives us a battery percentage, some little battery bars, our speed, which does read off a little bit sometimes, odometer, our assist level, the basics. All right, so we're gonna slow down. We got some real tight turns here. What these are great for is kind of evaluating the torque sensor and how sensitive it is. Also, we can see like, what is this thing like to climb on a low efficient power setting? So let me turn it down to 1 first. So level 1 power, first gear, and with a pretty mild effort, I can climb up this steep hill. I personally want a little more power than that still. Let's crank it up to 2. And two's pretty nice. Let's try 3. There we go. Now 3 is a number I feel like anybody could climb any hill on a low gear. If you need to crank it up more than that, it's just because you're going faster. So 3 is a nice spot where I can pedal pretty lightly. The assist is pretty sensitive. Like I don't have to put a ton of effort in to get a good amount of power out on level 3. It's pretty torquey at that number. Now we got a long steep grade. This is where you might want the bigger power numbers. So cranked it up to gear 4, level 4. Let's take a break, try just throttle. Okay, throttle is tied to the assist level. So I had to crank power up to 5 to get full throttle power as well. Oh, now the sun's coming up so I can kind of test the screen here. I'm seeing if these glasses are making a difference, and not really. I can see it clearly either way, so that's good. Yeah, this pulled me up that hill easily in 4th gear. So I can't really imagine there'd be any scenario where this bike couldn't pull you up a hill, but just to be on the safe side, we will take it to some steeper hills around downtown Grass Valley and see what happens. Can't park there. We're just gonna creep around. New driver, please be nice. These bars are swept back, so it gets you in a really upright, comfortable position. The stem is adjustable as well. It's a very comfortable riding position. And I would say it's kind of like because sometimes in bikes like this, they don't give you frame sizes. I would say it's kind of like a medium frame. I almost feel a little tall for it at 5'10". Almost. I'm not. I think up to about 6 foot or so, you'd be pretty comfortable on this. And then definitely towards the low 5 foot range, this could be a good fit. Probably like in the middle, like 5'5", 5'6", 5'7". That'd be like the sweet spot, I think. So now I've got it up to 5, all the way in 8th gear. I'm pedaling pretty lightly, honestly, for a torque sensor. And we're flying along. At legal speeds, of course. Usually with Vituvia, they set these up so you can program to be kind of a class 1, 2, or 3. I like that they do that with the mid-drive. There's some great mountain bike riding off to our right, Empire Mine and some of those trails, but we're not on a mountain bike today, so we're gonna avoid those. And like I said, a nice low rolling resistance, so you could put in a few pedal strokes or give it a little throttle, and then you can let go. You don't have to actually let go of the bars, but I'm doing that so you know I'm not putting any power on, and then the bike will just coast. And it'll do that for quite a ways. And all the way till a stop sign. Sneak through town a little here till a nice steep hill. All right, here goes nothing. So no more pedaling. Put the power up to 5. And I'm just gonna see at what gear does this feel like it's the most happy, going up a pretty steep hill. All right, so fourth. Starting off, didn't feel the greatest. Oh no, I was in fifth. Now we're in fourth. Fourth's not bad. All right, third gear, we're starting to struggle a little. Come on, go by. So I dropped it down into second gear. Oh no, that was actually first. And I really wasn't going that slow. I wasn't pedaling at all. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with the fact that I think first gear, you can climb anything. There really shouldn't be a hill you can't get up with this bike. So even though this says on paper 500 watts, and normally, as a general rule, I would say if you want to climb every single hill, go 750. You don't always need to do that with a mid-drive. When you have the gearing advantage, you can shift into a low gear. You get some really good torque at lower RPM, and it's a really nice setup where it'll just kind of crawl right up stuff. So if you're worried about the 500 watt rating, just remember two things. One, it's a mid-drive, you can shift to the gears, actually get more torque than you probably would get climbing that hill in a comparable 500 watt hub motor. But also, is it really a 500 watt motor? Because it peaks at over 800 watts, and we verified that it does in fact do that on the dyno. As far as I'm concerned, at least for California for 2026, the only major change I'm seeing in the laws, and it's not very major, is that e-bikes used to be like bicycles where you were required to have a headlight and tail light at night. However, the new laws now state that you must have a headlight and tail light or rear reflector day or night. So if you don't have a reflector or rear light on your bike, you gotta get one. And speaking of lights, one of these buttons I'm sure is going to turn our lights on. There we go. We do have, of course, on this bike a functional tail light. Surprisingly, naughty brake light. Nice little headlight though. Let's see, what size rotors were these? You know, they're only 160s. I honestly would have guessed 180 based on feel. So just goes to show that those brakes actually do work just fine. The battery fits in nicely right underneath the frame right here. You've got your key spot to unlock it, and a charging port down here. And here's that nice mid-drive motor that honestly I think is like the standout feature on this bike. If there's one reason to get this, it's how this motor performs. That did really well. And the screen here, we'll peel that off so you can see a little better. As you can see, is a liquid crystal display, but it has different colors. So it does make it a little easier to read, gets certain things to kind of pop out, but it's not a full color display like you would see on other bikes these days. Honestly, after riding it, I have zero complaints about the bike. That is a bargain price for a nice mid-drive motor powered bike that has a throttle and good power. There might be some other mid-drives out there in this price point, but do they have this kind of power and a throttle? Maybe not. That's something I think that's going to be a little less common. Let me know what you guys think. Is this a mid-drive step-through bike you would be interested in? We are actually a dealer for Vituvia, so I can easily get more of these if needed. I did not ask for this bike. Vituvia reached out and asked me if I'd like to review it, and glad I did because that motor performs really well. I hope they put that on more of their bikes. I'll put a link in the description with more information about this particular model. If you haven't already and you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button.